All right, what is going on, everybody? We got some NBA games to go over from last night, Wednesday, January 8th. We have the first game of the night, Thunder in Cleveland versus the Cavaliers, and the San Antonio Spurs in Milwaukee versus the Bucks. If you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment them down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. We'll try to get through these games a little quickly. I say that every time, but today we're gonna do it. We're gonna get through these games quickly because both these games were interesting, but I think there's not a lot to break down, so to speak. So let's just hop into the first game of the night. The first game of the night was Oklahoma City versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Two really good teams going at it. One of the best defenses in the league versus one of the best offenses in the league. Um, yeah, let's start with the Cavs. Let's start with the Cavs. Cavs are a good place to start. The Cavs had what is this? 7 players in double digits. Really good game for them as a team, as a collective. Um, I will say this game was a bit marred by I won't say bad refereeing, but questionable refereeing at times. Um, Nevertheless, let's go through some numbers here. Jared Allen had himself a night. Led the team with 25 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. Um, Up 9 for 11 from field goal. Next up was Evan Mobley, 21 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. Didn't make a three, took 3 of them. 8 for 13. After that was Darius Garland with 18, 7 assists. Um, they didn't shoot the 3 ball particularly well. Nobody did on this team, except Max Strus, because that's what he gets paid to do. We'll get to him in a minute. Donovan Mitchell with a bad game, just a bad game by his standards. 11 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Didn't make a shot until the end of the first half. And it was a drive to the basket where he got his first points. He was 3 for 16 and 2 for 7. Um, Heading down to the bench, Ty Jerome with 15. He was really big. Had some really good steals. Had some really good heads up plays. Um, I won't say I'm a Ty Jerome fan, but I like Ty Jerome. I remember him when he was on the Warriors, and then he played in Oklahoma City for a little bit, and then he was on the Wizards, and now he's in um, Cleveland with his former uh, assistant coach from the Warriors, Kenny Atkinson. So good night for him. Max Strus with 17 off the bench, 5 for 6 from three. They needed every three he made. He had some really good ones for them. I want to talk about how this Cleveland team beat one of the best defenses in the league when Donovan Mitchell was having a stinker. They just banged down low. Evan Mobley um, really surprised me. He really did. I won't say I'm a big fan of Evan Mobley. I'm a really big fan of him. I like his tangibles. I like his intangibles as well. Do I think he's do I think what a lot of people think is that he could be like an MVP caliber player, a defensive player of the year caliber player? No, but I think he's in the mold of like a young Anthony Davis where he has all the abilities. I just don't think he'll ever get the nod for it. I think he'll just always be underrated. I think he has the chance to be an all-star. I think he's an all-star caliber player. And last night was one of those nights where he really showed out, you know. Granted, the um, the Oklahoma City Thunder couldn't do much with only one real big in Isaiah Hartenstein. Um, Chet Holmgren's still out for them, so you kind of just set up the matchup, and you're like, oh yeah, we're gonna eat tonight, you know. the double big lineup. The Thunder didn't have another big to run against Evan Mobley. Really, it was just Isaiah Hartenstein either on Jared Allen or Mobley, and he tried his best. I don't think he fouled out. I think he finished the game, but it was a tough night for Isaiah Hartenstein having to deal with both those bigs because they would just pass it back and forth. It was beautiful basketball. Um, this is the team that when people say, "Oh, all NBA teams play the same," this is the team I point to when I'm like, "No, they don't play the same." This Cleveland Cavaliers team is built in such a different way and in such a different mold. They run a big lineup. They run a big front court of Jared Allen at the 5, Evan Mobley at the 4, Dean Wade at the 3, um, who had 11 on the night, 3 for 4 from 3. And then they have a super small backcourt, but it works. And I can't I can't I can't say enough about this team that isn't positive. And I get this was an injured Oklahoma City team. No Alex Caruso, no Chet Holmgren, but they could have easily just not taken this team seriously. Obviously, this game was marketed as a huge game for both teams, best in the East, best in the West, both on a winning streak at the time. Um, and yeah, the Cavs just really kept on chugging, even when the Thunder made runs and tried to cut into the lead and tried to get the lead. Um, they pulled it out, and the Cavs pulled it out, 129 to 122. The Cavs improved to 32-4, and the Thunder regress, I guess. Excuse me, into 30-6 on the season. Um, speaking of them, speaking of the Thunder, we have Shea Gilgeous-Alexander dropping 31 on terrible splits, on terrible percentages. 13-27, 1 for 6 from 3. Um, I said this in my last video, and I, I thought it was funny because it actually was a close game, and Shea played decently well. He kept his team in the ball game, but Shea, whenever I'm like, oh, I'm gonna bet on the Thunder. I'm gonna pick the Thunder to win. Shea puts up a stinker, and it wasn't a stinker. Just if you look at if you just look at their stat sheet, if you look into the percentages, it was a god awful game for him. Just an awful game for him. Um, but the same cannot be said for Jalen Williams with 25 points, 9 assists, um, 2 for 7 from 3, 9 for 17. Not terrible. Hit some timely shots. Tried to get them over the hump and tried to get them to win this ball game, but he just couldn't do it. Um, whenever the Thunder would go on a run and they would get a few buckets, the Cleveland Cavaliers would answer, or the whistle would blow, or they would turn it over, or they would get the ball poked away, or like just something would happen, and they were just never really. I felt they were never really in control of this game, um, even after the first half where Donovan was having a bad half. Um, some other guys of note: Isaiah Hartenstein with almost a triple double, 18 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, um, 8 of 14 overall. All these guys in the starting lineup played 30 plus minutes. By the way, Lou Dort with 7, Kason Wallace with 15, 3 for 3 for Kason Wallace from 3-point range. Lou Dort 1 for 13. 1 for 13, 1 for 3. Pardon me. And then the only person off the bench that really gave any help was Isaiah Joe hitting a couple threes and Aaron Wiggins doing his thing with 11 points. Um, yeah, this game was I don't want to say this game. This game was entertaining at points, and other points you just realized that the Thunder just weren't healthy, and the Cleveland Cavaliers were too big. You know, they were just a little too big to deal with. Um, Getting into some team numbers here, field goal percentage similar. The Cavs shot the three ball almost was at 6% better at 41 to the Thunder's 35. Um, OKC shot had a better free throw percentage at 88. Um, they were both similar in the offensive and defensive boards. Um, the OKC Thunder edged the Cleveland Cavaliers out of one defensive rebound, more than a difference maker. Assists were the same. Turnovers were almost the same. Yeah, this was a close game. Nobody led by double digits, but the, the Thunder just didn't have enough firepower. That's what some of these mid season matchups come down to, is that there's just not enough firepower just because X person is out, Y person is out. This isn't the full healthy matchup that we all wanted. Great game, but wasn't the full healthy matchup we all wanted. Um, Going into the late night game, um, Bucks versus San Antonio Spurs. The Bucks won the game 121 to the San Antonio Spurs 105. This was a this was a fun game to watch. There wasn't really any implications. There wasn't really any like beef or like anything like outside going on. It was just a game against two really unique players in Victor Wembanyama and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Um, the at times the Spurs put up a really good fight, like a surprisingly good fight. And I said like if Victor has at least 20 and somebody else can two other guys can give him high teens or 20, they could win this game. Victor Wembanyama did not do that. He barely had a double double, 10 points, 10 rebounds. His assists were low. His steals were had 2 steals, 3 blocks. He was doing it on the defensive end. Had 3 turnovers. Just not a good game for him. At times it was entertaining. At times you could see he was trying to get it going, but he ended the game 4 for 10 from field goal and 2 for 6 from three. Just not enough. And the other guys did show up. Harrison Barnes had 14, 2 of 7 from three, 4 of 9 overall. Chris Paul showed up with 18 points, 7 assists, um, no turnovers, 5 of 6 from three, 6 of 10 overall from field goal. Devin Vassell showed up with 11. Not great percentages, but showed up nonetheless. Stephon Castle had some great plays early on in the game, 5 points. And off the bench, Keldon Johnson with 24. He was really out there trying to put this game in some sort of competitive nature. Um, he was hitting the floor. He was getting to the basket. He was getting beat up a little bit. Um, but if Victor could have had 20, maybe this would have been a bit closer of a game towards the end. Because towards the end, Doc Rivers took all the starters out for the Bucks, and he just let it ride out because they had the game in the bag. Um, Going to the Bucks, these are the type of games that I like to see from the Bucks, where Giannis has 25, Brook Lopez has 22, and Damian Lillard has 26. Um, Brook and Dame both made 8 shots on mid to high teens attempts. Giannis split his field goal percentage, did not make a three, bad free throws, but he had 25, 16 rebounds, and 8 assists. A really good game for him. Just I never felt like he was going. Obviously, Giannis always goes like 110, but it never felt like he was really just going and going and going. He was just out there getting the job done, which is good. If this is him getting the job done, then amazing. Um, 3 points for Torian Prince, and Andre. I'm gonna say Andrew. Andre Jackson, 0 points. These are all the starters. And coming off the bench, Gary Trent had 14, and AJ Green had 14. AJ Green had a crazy dunk. I think it was in the first half. Right? Was that? I think yeah, yeah. He had a crazy dunk. AJ Green is becoming low key one of my favorite players on this team. He's just such like just out of left field, just like white guy shooter. Does a little bit extra sometimes, you know. I like him. I like AJ Green. Gary Trent. It was funny because I was watching this game. I had it on the background because it was at the point in the game where the Bucks were up by like 15 or so, and I was like, "Where's Gary Trent Jr.?" And then I look up, and there's Gary Trent Jr. um, so yeah, let's get some team stats. I'm not gonna drag on here and talk about whatever too much. Let's see. Yeah, the Bucks' largest lead was 26. Yeah, okay. um, Bucks had the Spurs beat in field goal by almost 10%. No, by 11%. Yeah, by 11%. 3-point percentage by 11%. Uh, Spurs had a better free throw percentage. Oh wow, the Spurs had more fast break points. Had less points in the paint, but they had less turnovers. Hmm. So the Bucks beat him the Bucks beat him in the numbers that matter, really. So that's what it came down to. It was very interesting. I do want to take a minute here to talk about Giannis and um, Victor Wembanyama because it's just so interesting to see where the game has gone and how similar but how different these two giants are. Obviously, Giannis more in the paint, more aggressive, I should say, and has improved his mid range shooting a hell of a lot this season. That's all they would talk about on the broadcast. Oh, he's done this, he's done that, he's been flexing this, whatever, you know, like really showing out and trying to show people he can shoot the mid range. It's cool. Um, but Wemby can take a lot of things from Giannis, and it will come with time because he's only what 19 or 20. He just needs he needs to be like more. He just needs to be more aggressive in different spots because at a certain point, Wemby is going to be a 3 level scorer if he gets to that point, and he needs to be able to wisely pick his spots and where the right time and the right place for it, and go to these moves and not think about it, you know, because there are times where he's just hoisting up threes, and granted, some of them are out of like a breakdown of a play, they're just out of a complete breakdown, but I think he needs more work on being in the moment and knowing what to do because I think Giannis has mastered that to a sense, to an extent, because he's been in the league, he's seen it all. He didn't have the pressure of being this guy that Victor has to be, being the number 1 pick, but Giannis grew into what he needed to be and has almost like like just become I want to say a different player, but mentally he's been a different player, you know. And I think Wemby can learn that and move forward with that stuff, you know. But yeah, that's the video. Those are the games from last night. Um, we got no games this weekend that are prime time. We just got regular basketball. If you have the NBA app or you have any of these obscure satellite channels or your local channels, go watch the games. But for me, that's it. I will put a video out this weekend, just an evergreen video talking about whatever I feel like talking about. Probably one on Monday too, and then Tuesday night we got some primetime games again, so we'll talk about that. We'll preview that stuff, and yeah, like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I will see y'all this weekend. Cheers! Thank you for watching.